Hi, everyone. This is Yako from Masters Muscle, and today I have Gary Udit with me, the one and only. So I'm very happy we had the chance to talk today. And today we're going to talk about the Masters World Championships and some of the things that led up to it. So, Gary, if you could tell us, basically what is your role in this, and if you could tell us how you got the idea for getting this started.
Been running the Masters National Championships since 1993 in Pittsburgh, and also in conjunction with the team and collegiate championships. So the three run together as a weekend, and has continued to grow, as you can imagine. Every year, those Masters athletes are learning how to train smarter, and they continue to get better. So then we give out pro cards, obviously, in those divisions. And at one point, I'd say around 8 to 10 years ago, some of the athletes were asking if we could run some kind of a pro masters show. At the time, from time to time, there was a Masters Olympia that they used to run. And then I believe the last time the actual Olympia ran, it was maybe in Long Beach. And then for a while, Jantana picked it up. I think Steve ran a world championships one time. And since then, nothing. So with all the pro cards that we award each year, it seemed like we should probably start to do pro masters events. And I started to research that. And we started with the Pittsburgh Pro Masters about 5 years ago. It's continued to grow. And in talking to Jim Mannion and Tyler Mannion this year, it seemed like a good idea, and maybe it was time to go ahead and do a Masters World Pro Championships. What an incredible title to win. So decided with their blessing to put it as the wind up to the Masters National Championships week. That event's 4 days now, so that anyone who is has a NPC or a IFBB Pro League Pro card and over the age of 35, actually probably 40, will be eligible. In addition to the people that week at the Masters National Championships will be turning a lot of people pro that week. Then they can turn pro right there, and on Sunday compete in the Masters World Championships.
So, how did you decide that 35 is, the age of a master's? And how did you decide, like what age groups to do? Because you look at a lot of the Olympians today, they're already in their late 30s and 40s. I mean,
It's such a different time back 20, 30 years ago. And we initially had, I believe, over 40 as the line in the sand. And then at some point in time, they decided to make it over 35. And so a lot of people do the different age groups depending on what their draw is or what their kind of support they get for their event. Typically here in Pittsburgh, we get to a point now at the Masters Nationals and at the North America with Masters, we do 5-year increments, because any athlete will tell you that if you're 51, if you're 59 years old, it's difficult to go against someone 51. So we made the 5-year increments. However, for this first Masters World Championships, we're going to start with 40. We'll do 40, 50, and 60. Frankly, because I don't know what the outpouring is going to be. I know that all over the social media, people are just going crazy and reaching out to me through text, email, even on Instagram and Facebook. Some saying, I'm coming out of retirement for this one because it's a pretty cool title to win. And so there's only 24 hours in a day.
yeah.
And so we're going to walk before we run. And do 40, 50, and 60 in each division. Um, and wait and see what happens. And then the following year, we'll do what we do, which is adapt and proceed, depending
Mhm.
on.
So, are you going to have, all of the women's divisions, bikini, figure, wellness, that whole range, and the same for men?
Every division, you bet, including I believe we'll do the men's 212.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, the athletes are out there, and they
So,
continue better than ever. Um, and the surprising thing is this: that more companies have not reached out to support the masters division because these are people who have disposable income
you're absolutely right.
and faces time on their hands, and these are folks that are out there buying things. So maybe this will spur some of the companies to get involved in these events, because these athletes, they're an absolutely incredible group. And people who haven't seen the Masters Nationals don't know what they're walking into. I've had friends, good friends, who were really good bodybuilders, for instance, back when they were in their 20s and 30s. And then they went off and got a life. And now maybe they're in their 50s. The kids are growing up and they're thinking about competing again. And I've had a couple of them call me, say, "Hey, I'm going to get in that Masters Nationals." I said, "Have you seen it?" They said, "No, no, but I've been staying in shape." There's been some people get surprised on that stage, because generally we'll go deep into a third call out, and
Mhm.
these guys are literally the best from where they're from, and the depth is unbelievable.
Will you be sending out any invites to, some of the famous pros?
There are pros who will attest to the torture that they get from me. One of them being Marty Vranicar. Um,
Uh-huh.
Marty was he was a magazine cover guy a long time ago, and he and I crossed paths um, probably 20 years ago, maybe 15. At any rate, we crossed paths at an event and hadn't seen each other for a long time. And uh, he came up. He was in town for, I think, some family stuff, and decided to jump into a contest. And he was doing the over 50 class that day. And I said, I tried to get him in the open. He would not do it. And, at that point, he would have smoked anyone in the open.
Wow.
He was still that good. So I told him that day, I said, "Look, that's going to be relentless. I'm not going to give up till you show up at the Masters Nationals." Um, and, a lot of folks obviously remember him from way back, along with other guys. I mean, the number of times that I reached out to Mendenhall, you can't imagine. I mean, how bad did I want Mendenhall on that stage? But
Oh,
there's a lot of guys out there. So it's a good time, and it's always fun when a lot of them come back to the shows to watch them, or maybe they've trained someone. I know some guys will say, "Hey, I got to get a ticket from my trainer." And just in conversation, I said, "Well, who is that?" And one of them was John Defendus from
mm.
way back. Defendus is a walking, talking legend. And so I was on John's rear end for a while. I said, "You got to come to this show just to show up and hang out with us." So he did. And his wife came up. We had a great time. And obviously, the stories got exaggerated as the day went on.
So, do you think there'll be a decent purse for the prize winners?
Yeah, well, and this is kind of what spurred this year, was that we had. Well, I couldn't get companies years ago to agree to get involved sponsoring this event. And I understood it. They want to put their money into the open events,
Mhm.
open, and I get that. So when I said to the athletes back then, "I'll tell you what," I said, I can do this one of two ways. I'm having a hard time getting companies involved. How about if I continue an entry fee that you've been paying at the Masters in North America, which was $200? I said, my pledge to you is that every dime of that goes into your prize money.
Yeah.
So I don't make any money, but I don't lose any money,
Hmm.
and it cruises, and that's the whole game. So they've agreed to that, and that's what we've done over time. So the only alternative was, look, I can put on a pro show, a veritable pro show. However, there won't be any prize money. So
Yeah.
I'd like to this year. If you get 20 guys in a division, that's 4,000. It's getting split up, and as the numbers climb in each division, so then does the prize money. And I wrote some pretty good checks this year to some people who won, and because their particular divisions were packed with athletes. So I envision some people getting some big purses next year.
Wow, that's great. So, about how many, masters pros do you think there are out there? And is there a difference between having, winning your pro card with as a master versus, and in an open?
No, there's no difference at all. And I'll give it a good example. We had over 40 men masters. Actually, every division was over 40, and then 50, 60, and like that. And I wanted to change it to over 35 because there was a big class and we were getting a lot of requests. And so we implemented it. And I had trainers call me and say, "Man, I'm so glad you did that, but there's not going to be that many in it the first couple of years. I got to tell you that." And the reason was none of these people wanted anyone knowing they were 35. And I said, well, I get that. I mean, I had people, guys and girls, call me a lot of times, and they say, "Hey, look, I'd love to do your show in July, but I'm going to do the Junior Nationals up in Chicago instead because I don't want anyone to know I'm 35." I was like, well, then eventually that whole thing changed because their friends were winning pro cards, and so now that division is as big as any.
Wow. So, about how many masters pro cards do you think are given out in a year?
I should have calculated that before I came to see you. We give them out at the Masters Nationals. We give them out at the Masters at the North America. Steve gives a ton of them out up at the Universe. Tamer gives them out at his Masters USA. Don't hold me to this number, but it wouldn't surprise me if we give 250 pro cards out in the Masters division each year.
Wow.
That's a lot of athletes, and
Hmm.
uh, so we'll see how many show up in Pittsburgh.
Well, I will be there for sure. And, I just turned 58. I got my pro card 3 years ago. And to me, it is the single greatest accomplishment of my life. It's something that I wanted to do since I saw Pumping Iron in the theater when I was a kid. So
And
it's a dream come true for me.
I went there, and I remember that like it was yesterday. They held it at the one theater in town, a kind of an independent theater. Every musclehead in the city was there, including myself. And and uh, I can guarantee you that every one of us had posing trunks on underneath our jeans, just in, just in case. It was a great time. But while you look back on that, I just got a chill thinking about it because you know the, back then we were competing in a YMC gymnasium with one single light hung on a basketball hoop
Oh, wow.
spotlight, and on this little box. And to think that that's where it came from then to where Jim Mannion has brought it to now, it's mind blowing.
Wow. So are there any masters in Europe?
Well, for sure, there are people who have uh, turned pro, and they're now of a master's age.
Hmm.
I don't know that they give Masters Pro cards away. I mean, or I should say, pro cards to Masters winners. I don't know if they've started that yet or not. But there's certainly a bunch of folks who have turned pro,
Yeah.
and they are now 40. So, and I mean, the real trip of it is, I'll give you an example. So the higher ups in the industry know that my inclination is to keep adding classes because
Hmm.
I'm going to endorse for athletes. And I remember that, the head of our women's division, Sandy Williamson, she said to me one time when we instituted bikini, and then we were going to do masters bikini, and she said, "Listen to me. I don't want to see any saggy butts up on the stage." And I had been tracking the ages as they came in every year, and I knew that there were girls in the over 40 division who were actually over 50. So I knew what the hell was out there.
Yeah.
So we added over 45, then we added over 50, and amazing. These athletes are in shape. No saggy butts. Forget that. These folks are in great shape, and it's just a testament to what they can do because of living that lifestyle.
Yeah. And for most of us, it is the lifestyle. And I would never put my foot on a stage where I'm competing with the guys, who are half my age. So I'm very grateful to have this master's division, to keep my boyhood dreams alive of competing and not feeling like I can't even do it.
Well, this masters division was created for a really good reason. I mean, obviously, our foundation was men's bodybuilding, and difficult for a guy over 40 to stand next to a guy 23 years old many times. So they created the masters division so the guys could continue to compete. I think a lot of that has changed now because of the healthier lifestyle, and people have learned how to train smarter and eat smarter. So that the masters competitors, it's mind blowing. They continue to get better every single year, and there are more of them because what group wants to stay healthy more than the 35 to 55 group? They're trying to stretch out those decades. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am. And I know, lots of guys at my gym and gals are very grateful to have this opportunity.
Here's the other cool thing about the Masters group. Um, Anyone will tell you that the vibe at the Masters Nationals is entirely different than at other national shows because with the Masters group there, and you got so many athletes over 35, over 40, over 50, over 60, their mindset's different. And maybe they've chosen to be a little more realistic about things and maybe a little more mature in their actions so that they become friends and they're looking for each other every year now.
Hmm.
Where opposed to, you get into some of the big national events where these people have really big time pro aspirations. Naturally, the intensity gets cranked up a little bit and it changes, but these Masters events are very cool. It's a very cool vibe to the point that we've had people before we started to take over the entire hotel. There were some other groups in there, and they would request to be there on our weekend because it was such a cool vibe.
Wow, that's really interesting.
And and they tip better than anybody else.
Well, we have some money to tip.
Yeah, we do. They appreciate things, and the Bellman. Um, it's Christmas in July. And, your group. No one tips like your group.
Well, Gary, I can't thank you enough for doing this interview with us.
Can I
And
tell you one?
um,
Can I tell you
yeah,
one fun master story?
sure.
So I'm determined to stay in these hotels because we're so lucky to get into a cool hotel. So I ask that everybody be cool. And then I tell the people and the staff, I said, listen, here's my number. Anyone gets a little sideways because they're dieting, you must call me immediately. I
Uh-huh.
need to, because I'm not getting tossed out of some hotel because someone's a jerk off. So, lady who was my contact, Myrna, she was about she'd been there forever, and she was about 5 feet tall. And she called me and she goes, "You said you want to know everything, right?" "Oh, yes." She goes, "Well, we had to replace an entire toilet up on the 6th floor." And I was afraid to ask why, but she said, "Well, there was a yam stuffed in there. I couldn't get it out. And so we had to replace it." I said, "Well, please find out the guy's name." So she did. And after the men's meeting before the finals, I asked for this gentleman. I said, "If you're here, please come up and see me." So this really big guy, he's like 6'5" and 270. Walk- He walks up, he goes, "Hey, Gary, what's going on?" I go, "You stuffed a yam in your toilet." And he goes, "How can you possibly know that?" I said, "My man, they tell me everything." I said, "Here's the situation." I go, "I'm not getting in a jackpot with this hotel over this." I go, "You're gonna go out here and apologize to this lady." "Oh, okay, okay, where do we go?" So I call Myrna, and Myrna had been smoking for like 50 years, and she goes, "Yeah, what is it?" And I go, "In the lobby." So we go out there, and there's Myrna, 5 feet tall, and there's this giant. "This is Dave. He has something to tell you." And he goes, "Wow." He goes, "Listen, I'm really sorry about that toilet." And I go, "Seriously, why did you stuff that thing in there?" And he goes, "Well, my trainer came and looked at me and he said, 'You are absolutely perfect. Don't do anything. Don't eat anything.'" He goes, "He left and I got this big yam." He goes, "I'm thinking if I put it in the garbage, I'm going to pull it out back out and eat it. So, okay, what do I do with this? I'll just flush it." He goes, and it didn't.
I guess the yam just skipped the middleman.
So at any rate, it's a cool group. The Masters World Championships is a pretty cool title to win.
It
So
really is.
I think it's going to be a cool event. People are going to be blown away. I'll tell you that because these folks are going to get a lot of respect when they show up. Look out.
I'm sure they will, and I will certainly be there covering it. Uh,
Next